closing beat, everybody. Happy Tuesday. How you doing out there? Hope everybody's good. I'll do my thing here. I'll just get ready. I was prepared. See? Hey, this is a quick stock market update show that we do, brought to you by us here at Jazz Wealth Managers. Hope you'll check us out on our website, jazzwealth.com. We just cover the stock markets, all those kinds of interesting, geeky data, just to overview what happened for the day, right? Just give our customers an update, as well as those of you that like to follow along. We're also playing a game. It's called Guess the Dow. Tell me where you think the Dow is going to close next week, and if you're the closest without going over, I'll send you a $100 gift card, or if you're one of our customers, we'll credit your account $100. We're also got our Jazz Artist of the Week, drummer Art Blakey. Got a cool song, Caravan. If you happen to watch the live version, somewhere in the mid-60s, starts with a little drum solo. So if you're into that kind of stuff, well, check it out. Art Blakey is the one you're looking up this week. Anyways, let's take a look at the stock market. Got a down day, 600 points on the Dow, 86 on the S&P, and 297 on the old NASDAQ there. If we take a look at the charts here, you got the S&P in the chop zone. That's what we're calling it, the chop zone there. That's the black line. We could probably extend that thing out now a little bit. That's what we're working through right now. A known resistance area in the market if you are a technical trader there. And so that's where the S&P is at. If you look at the Russell today, the Russell was the strongest. It has been the weakest overall, so just had a good day in terms of outperforming the S&P and other major indices there. The NASDAQ was the weakest. Your big tech stock names continue to pull back. You've got oil pulling back, and you got the big tech stock names just taking a break. We've talked about this before, where all the heavy lifting was done by some of the bigger names out there. What happens when the heavy lifting is all of a sudden not done anymore by the biggest names? Well, you get a pullback. That's what you have here there. We're actually going to cover some interesting stats here in a little bit. Our turnaround Tuesday and Whack-'em Wednesday. That's the thing that we're going to focus on there. Just kind of see see if those stats are true. We've been saying that Tuesdays have been strong, turnaround Tuesday. Wednesday seems to be get whacked. Let's go through the data. We'll take a look at the whole year so far and see what's going on there. I'll do that here in just a little bit. As far as the stock market goes today, really the focus was on oil. A couple other news headlines for you. The Senate is voting on the new small business stimulus. I think it's about $500 billion, something just under that, 460, 470, somewhere in there. And Senate's voting on that. I believe as we speak, the House should vote later if they haven't already. That was supposed to already start. Oil prices made people look at the stock market and say, hey, maybe that was too far too fast. We've been talking about how this market's bounced so far so fast. It's not a good thing, and this pullback starting here is actually a good thing. I'll take that. The market pulling back here is a good thing in the short term, and so that had people thinking more risk off, maybe hold back and see how far the markets pull back before they invest more for your short or mid-term investors there. We also had existing home sales come out today. They came out down 8.5%, just getting weaker. It was expected, right? Home sales expected to be weak for the month of March, but it's just getting weaker out there in terms of that. So that's the stock market. We'll take a look at some of this other stuff here as we go. Last Friday, we did a video on buying stocks ahead of government funding. You look at the airline stocks today. The Treasury says they're starting to get the first of their payments there. The airlines, United Airlines, American Airlines, all the ones we went through there. Tons of downgrades in that space right now. Capacity, right? They're like 70 to 90% of the flights have been canceled or cut or not even flying there. So there was just a ton of downgrades there that sort of offset the Treasury news today. But they were only getting part of their funding. So we'll see how that goes going forward. In our FinTips video, from Monday, we talked about picking tech stocks for a portfolio. If you're going to put some stuff together for now, midterm, long-term, what could you look at there? Tomorrow, we're going to talk about dependable dividend stocks. Not the highest dividend yielding stocks out there, not the most growth-oriented dividend stocks, but the most dependable. So we've been doing a few videos on the dividend stocks out there because that's a moving target. If you're trying to keep up with dividend stocks out there, boy, they're either cutting or scaling back or switching models overall. Goldman Sachs had an interesting one. I may do a video on it where they proposed that maybe companies move towards variable dividends like Progressive does. So Progressive, I think, is the only stock right now that does a variable dividend. So they kind of proposed some scenarios there. Maybe we'll do a video and talk about it. Let me know if it's something that's interesting to you. On Outside the Virus today, we talked about oil prices, of course, that's the hot topic, and the S&P weightings, the current weightings by sector and how that's changed. So if you're interested in taking a look at that to see how your index funds and index investments may be taking more risk than you think you probably should have taken there. Also tonight, I'm going to post a video. We're just calling it Couch Talk. It's simple, right? We're going to go through stock picking again, but we're going to focus on the financial sector if you happen to be interested in that. Let's go over to the sectors and talk about those today. Every sector was down 1% or more. Year to date, XLV, that's your healthcare. Healthcare is the leader. It did pull back today, but it is the leader. Is currently down about 4% with today factored in. All the sectors are down between 4 and 45%. There's a wide window there. Healthcare being down the 4%. And you could probably guess energy being the one down 45%. Interestingly, financials are the second worst performing sector overall. They just can't get a bid in there. But let's talk about oil. All the excitement is in oil today. So here is the current contract. That is real. That's what you're looking at is real. The digital session closing out $13 a barrel for the June contract there. This is history. This is history, folks. This is now the front month contract there. It was hinting at going negative today. At one point hit 650 at the lows today. Closed down on the day in the regular session, $11.80 a barrel. Real weakness there. Just incredible to watch this happen here. So if you're not participating directly, maybe you have ETFs. You got USO in the mix, down 25% today. They stopped issuing new shares. That's interesting. So the question came up, can USO go negative? If they're invested in the June and July contracts and they go negative, could USO go negative as well, given that this is like an ETF? It's not supposed to go negative. It's not supposed to go to zero, right? Normally, I would say at this point, USO would be looking to do a reverse split. They probably will at some point here anyways. But I don't know. Can it go under zero? I actually couldn't find the answer to that. I don't know. I assume it could because it's directly tied to oil, but I don't understand how that would work. I mean, if it went negative and I could buy in for a credit, essentially, wouldn't you buy as much as you could? This is fascinating to me. This is history if you're watching. This has never, ever, ever happened before. So fascinating to watch. Anyways, there. On the Outside the Virus show today, we talked about production here in the United States. 50% of general U.S. oil production has been cut. Fracking is down 67% in the United States. In the U.S., almost nobody is fracking anymore. Isn't that incredible? It's just totally incredible. So we kind of covered some of that. And I oversimplified it, by the way, where I was talking about pumping water into the cracks. I know they use other chemicals and stuff. I was trying to oversimplify and just say, what are they doing? What's the process there? So kind of gave a breakdown of that if you're curious. But boy, USO just incredible there to the downside. All right, you got tech stocks moving lower by about 4% today. This was the worst performing sector, by the way. Just broad weakness across the board there. Your big cap, we call them like super duper cap names, your Microsoft, things like that, all fell a little bit lower. Again, I'll use the comment there. We talked about what was doing all the heavy lifting on the way up. What happens when those start to pull back? I've used that analogy a few times there, just something to point out. Communication services down 3% on the day. This was the second worst performer, and that's going to be because of your Facebook. It's going to be because of Netflix, although I think it's up a little bit. Netflix at the moment, nope, it's down. Netflix after hours with the earnings is officially down. But anyways, Netflix pulling back and Google, those make up the lion's share of the communication services. In fact, I'll just go ahead and jump forward to the holdings for communication services. I was going to share that with you here today. Here's sort of a graphical representation of the holdings there. Netflix is the 6th largest holding in the space there, but you can see off to the right, this is basically we're off to the right, or the x-axis there, we're looking at the weighting in the ETF. So Facebook, the largest weighting in the ETF at the moment. Google's 2 classes of shares, and then it goes on from there. If you want to see sort of the breakdown by weight, I'll come back to this in a little bit. Here's a breakdown by weight, 18% for Facebook, Google, 2 classes there making up 20%, T-Mobile, etc. Netflix making up 5% there as well. We'll come back to that in a little bit and kind of cover Netflix since they had earnings there. You've got the 10-year yield versus the S&P yield. Sort of hinted at this a little bit last night, just making a little clip because some people were asking me about the S&P yield as a whole, like the whole S&P. Could this yield get crushed there? Well, let's take a look. This is the widest spread that we've seen between the dividend yield in the S&P and the 10-year Treasury rate in 50 years, over 50 years. I can't go back any further. So at some point, maybe it's the widest in ever, but at this point, it is the widest in 50 years there. Obviously, you can see the negatives here. We've got retirees coming into the stock market in a really volatile time because they're chasing yield. The yield is fluid, it's changing, meaning companies are changing their dividends and things like that. Just very impressive to watch what's happening between safe yield and what's just known as more aggressive yield. Not that it's not safe, it's just more aggressive there. So rather fascinating there. I thought I'd share that with you. Gold. So gold fell on the day, fell about 1.4%. Here's an interesting thing. Bank of America came out and they said gold is currently trading about $1,700. They said it's going to $3,000. Their previous target was $2,000. They raised it a whole $1,000. They raised it to $3,000, and they said over the next 18 months you will see $3,000 on the price of oil. That's 80% higher than where we're currently at, or where it closed today, and that's crazy. They're blaming it on zero rates. They said the rates are going to be low for some time. They're not going to be able to raise rates, and because of that, it's going to help the price of gold overall. There's a couple other scenarios in there, but rather fascinating, I thought. Also, we'll point out volatility getting a little uptick over the last couple days. Volatility has calmed down. It's been a little bit quiet lately. Over the last 2 days, naturally, with the markets pulling back, we saw volatility picking up there. Let's talk about Turnaround Tuesday. Can we? Let's go over to this Turnaround Tuesday. What we did is we went, just share it this way. We went through every week day since the beginning of the year, and we said, is this true? Is this really happening here? Here's a percentage of time that each weekday is positive so far year to date. It's a small sample size now. We're not going back that far, but I just thought it was a fun game we've been playing here on the Closing Beat. So despite how much you may have thought that Turnaround Tuesday was actually positive, it is not the most positive day so far this year. Wednesday and Thursday actually are. So although we call Wednesday the Whack-'em Wednesday, where the markets have just seemed to be selling off, although it feels like that, more Wednesdays have been positive than Tuesdays. So rather interesting to see that. And we haven't really focused on Thursday. But before you put this whole stat aside and say, well, I guess Tuesdays aren't all that Turnaround Tuesday-ish, let's look at the performance of each weekday so far this year. The only day that has an average performance that's positive is Tuesday, right? 1.03% for Tuesdays. In fact, every other day this week for the year so far has averaged a loss. I thought that was pretty interesting there. So just something I want to share with you guys. Really quick study because it was something we were talking about there, but kind of fascinating. Anyways, moving on. We've got, well, we'll go back over to the new highs and lows today. We only had one new high on the day. That was Vertex Pharmaceutical that hit new highs on the day. There were 0 new 52-week lows, but we do got to point out INSEE. INSEE was the stat play from yesterday. We were talking about INSEE being very extended here. We ran the analysis on that. The average decline over the next 5 days, that was from yesterday, was 1.1%. 65% of the time it was lower over the next 5 days. Well, we hit that target all in one day. It lost 1.7% today, so that has officially come true. Rather cool there. And that's really all I have. New highs, new lows, awfully quiet today. One of those days where sort of an inside day for those. All right, stocks that are specifically affected by the virus. You got airlines today. They're getting the initial bailout money. United Airlines finished the day positive, but none of the others really did. Delta lower on the day. American Airlines lower on the day. JetBlue lower on the day. And I believe Southwest Airlines was down about 3%, almost 52-week lows there. Choice Hotels, CHH is the symbol. They were lower by 3.5% on the day. They're going to lay off about 15% of their employees, and I think that's probably just the start. Hertz is laying off about 10,000 employees. Stock was down 8% on the day. Remember, that goes into what Avis was doing the other day. Avis is already reaching out for government assistance there. I don't know if they're going to get it, but they're reaching out. Rollins down 2.4%. They're going to be furloughing employees as well. Not looking good out there. Darden Restaurants actually posted a gain on the day. They saw their overall same-store sales down 45%. So Darden Restaurants well, you can imagine, right? Everybody but Chipotle seems to be hurting here. And FLIR Systems, we talked about this yesterday. Amazon using some of their technology to to better screen their employees coming back to work and use their thermal imaging, this company, using FLIR's thermal imaging technology to see if employees maybe were showing signs of having the virus there. Well, I don't think that's all because of that news. Today, there was just a whole bunch of other companies that said, yeah, we like the idea of doing that in our manufacturing plants and things, and FLIR is seen as the largest beneficiary of that, given that they're one of the major competitors in that space. So that's that. Oh, yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of stocks being affected by earnings there. I'm sorry, by the virus. Let's move on to earnings. You got in the news after hours here, Netflix misses on earnings. They beat on revenue. Subscriber growth almost double what was expected, 15.7 million versus 8.2 expected, and that's not even the full downturn, right? So that's not even the including all of the virus shutdown. You expect people were sitting at home, right? But in January, nobody was sitting at home, so that boost in subscribers, rather interesting there. I thought it was funny that they posted, is that right? They posted their cash flow positive, which would be the first time since they moved away from sending the DVDs in the mail that they've been cash flow positive. You know why that is? The production studios, all of Paramount Studios that Netflix uses and everything, well, they're not making any new shows. So they're not spending billions of dollars making new shows, and therefore they've got extra money sitting around, or at least they had. And so there you go. They actually turn a profit there. Remember, these guys spend a lot of money and are required and have to continue to spend a ton of money to keep generating the shows or buying the shows like Tiger King and all the other ones. Tiger King, like 60 plus million views in the first quarter. Whew. I was one of them. I watched it. She did it, man. She did it. All right, moving on here. Almost every analyst is positive on Netflix, right? However, the average analyst target is 391. Is it 391? I believe it's 391 is the average analyst price target there. So what you're going to hear going forward, the stock's down about 0.5% after hours. You're going to hear analysts start to change their tune a little bit and say, we're positive on Netflix, but not at these prices. Right? It's a little bit pricey, especially if it opens up higher tomorrow. Also, keep in mind, Netflix is the most volatile stock during earnings. Shared this with our customers the other day in the notes from Jazz. Here is the top 30 companies this week that are reporting, top 30 by market cap, by the way. And if you look at it, Netflix is actually highlighted there off to the right with the average earnings day volatility 12.5%. So just something I think we're going to point out there. Tesla, if highlighted in green, by the way, if you're curious, they report later this week. They are the best performer on average in terms of the earnings day move. They average a gain there of 2.15%. And IBM, if you're following along, the average earnings day range is basically spot on, right, for IBM. So these little stats, you think some people give you a little grief and say, I don't know how interesting this is. They're playing out. All right, a couple others here. You got Chipotle up 6.6% after hours. They beat on earnings, missed on revenues. They said, all in all, basically everything's good. Digital orders and everything looking good. Some of their stores are closed. Those are probably the ones in the malls and things like that. Some of their stores are closed, but they said they've got enough cash, given all the assistance and everything that they've got going on and the tax assistance and everything, to last at least a year. Nice. So stock price trading up at about $8.39. Doesn't quite, that puts it to new highs actually here in the short term. So that'll start a little bit higher, at least as of now. That's where it'll start. And the other one that I got for you is Snapchat, or Snap, down 3% during the day today. However, they beat on revenues, which by a lot, 462 million actually is what they brought in there. They still lost money, 8 cents a share. It's a company that doesn't make a profit. Daily active users were higher by about 5 million more than expected. Average revenue per user, $2.12, and it can't turn a profit, but the stock is higher by 20% after hours, trading at $15. If you happen to be a technical trader, you want to take a look at that. $15 puts you at the 200-day moving average, which is where it will likely stick until we get more information tomorrow. What else do we have? Well, I hope you like earnings, because we've got a lot of earnings coming up. I'll rattle them off real quick. This is not a full list. This is just some of the bigger names here to report. Biogen, Delta, Kimberly-Clark. This is all tomorrow morning, by the way. AT&T, Thermo Fisher, Alcoa. And then in the after hours tomorrow, we've got CSX Railroad, Kinder Morgan, Lam Research, Las Vegas Sands, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Seagate, and Xilinx. dividends coming out that are actually still being paid. You got Clorox, $1.06, and Apache with 25 cents going forward. Of all the companies that reported earnings today, there were two that kept their guidance. That would be Philip Morris. They lowered their guidance, but they kept it. And Lockheed Martin, they beat on earnings by 24 cents. Revenues came in better than expected, and they did keep their guidance the same. Stock still lost about 2%. I will take a chance here and try to answer some of your questions if I can, and we'll see what we can do. Can you play Guess the Dow every week? You sure can. Let you know why you chose it. Oh, can I play? Yeah, I can play. I can't win, as per the rules of the game, which are highlighted on the website there. Any one of us here can play, but we can't win. Could I play and take a guess, like a public guess? That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I can do that. Remind me if I forget, but that'd be fun. I could do that. Maybe we'd do like on Monday or something. Yep. You almost went to her sanctuary down here. Yeah, it's right by us, actually. She's not very far from here. What I thought was funny about the Tiger King show is they made it look like she lived in this sort of modest home. That's not where she lives, guys. You know Tom Brady just came to the Bucs here? Have you seen Tom Brady's house, which is Derek Jeter's house? She lives right across the street. Yep, right down the road there. I mean, just same neighborhood and everything. It's a very nice house, so don't let her mislead you. Though you can't, who knows what actually happened there. There's a lot of theories, and it's fun to talk about when we're all sitting at home, but I sort of feel bad for the lady. That show, by the way, I didn't like that show. Really quick, just to give you my 2 cents here, if it's even worth anything. That was the one show that I watched, and I had no closure. The good guys didn't get anything. They were really the bad guys, and the bad guys didn't get in trouble, but it was like you had no one to root for. A typical movie, there's a good guy and a bad guy. It's clearly defined. You really like the one person, and the bad guy tries to make things bad and everything, and at the end, the good guy wins. You didn't know who was a good guy and who was a bad guy, and nobody seemed to win. I didn't like it. I left that show feeling very confused. So if you haven't watched it, just a heads up, you're going to feel like that. The one good person I thought, and they didn't give us enough to tell, was a lady that had her arm pulled off. Can't remember her name, Taff or something like that. Seemed like a nice person, but you just couldn't tell, right? And plus there's the whole tiger thing. Should you keep tigers? Are you with them? I don't know. It was a tough show. Oh, it was a tough one. I saw we're rebuilding the Patriots down here, but we're rebuilding, the New England Bucks, we can call it now. Rob Gronkowski. This whole town is going to be a whole party nonstop now. Maybe we'll run into him somewhere. I heard the other day Tom Brady was in a park in Tampa. He was trying to do a little workout, and a cop came up to him and said, "You got to leave," and then realized it was Tom Brady, but they still asked him to leave. Poor guy's trying to get a little workout on. It's not enough to do in that big house there. It's incredible. Yeah. It's tough. I'm here. The Bucks are our team locally, but I was born a Cowboys fan. What are you going to do? Yeah. Would MGM or Wynn stocks be worth a gamble? I think you want to wait until tomorrow. Las Vegas Sands will be the first to report earnings. You might want to see if you can get a little guidance from that before you make any decisions there. Just because there's only one more day to wait, maybe there's something interesting you can learn from what's going on there. Yeah. No, I know it's real life. It wasn't a made-up story, but it was like, sheesh, that's crazy. Yeah. It's a fun one. I love it. I try to keep it, real stats-based. Maybe we could maybe we could get Rob Gronkowski on the show. He's been known to invest a little bit. I don't know. He'd be over here. I'm not a very tall guy. Sheesh, man, messing with me. I will be on that show one day. Life goals, man. Yeah. You like the stats plays there? Yeah, the trouble is right now, I try to point them out here and there. There's always 2 or 3 a day. The trouble is they're not large enough moves to really make it worth bringing up. It's just kind of small moves. When something's kind of extended, I like to bring it up there as well. We will try to keep up with that. I'll try to do what I can. Uh-oh. You got everybody betting the Bucks are going to win the Super Bowl. Isn't the Super Bowl here in town this year? Yes. Oh, boy. Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be fun. We get a chance to go to that, maybe. Or go around that. That's crazy. Well, let me make sure I got everything here real quick before we move on. Let's see if there's any other questions. I did cover that. I've covered it. Yeah, we're all good here. Netflix down about 0.5%. Snapchat kind of floating around at that 20% mark. And Chipotle after hours, 6.79%. Yep. Uh-oh, getting sports going on in here. Yeah. I thought I saw that new episode of the like an update to the Tiger King. I don't know. I don't think I would watch it, to be honest. Yeah. Craig's saying, can you do more videos like you did with Martin Transport? Tonight, 8 o'clock tonight. I already did it. I did it last night, actually. We're going to do that one. It goes out at 8 o'clock tonight. So if you want to take a look, maybe hit the subscribe button and then turn the notification on. I understand if you guys don't want to turn the notifications on because we're doing a lot more stuff lately, but if you want to check it out, that'll be 8 o'clock tonight for sure. Yep. And I will get out of the way so you can do that. Probably do another one on this variable dividend idea. I think that's rather interesting, but we'll talk about it in case it gains some steam and it becomes more of a focus. You guys will already be one step ahead of the curve. All right, that's about my time here. I appreciate you guys sticking around and hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something. If so, maybe you hit the subscribe button. If all this is foreign to you, you just want some help, want somebody to do it for you, I hope you'll check us out at Jazz Wealth Managers there. Yeah, I can't, so that's a tough one. I can't ask for a review. Not allowed to. If you leave a review and people who have left a review choose to do that on their own, you're certainly welcome to do that. Whether you like us or there's room for improvement, something you don't like, whatever, I'll take whatever happens. You know, it's fair. Somebody's not going to like us at some point, but I just can't ask you. So that's why you don't see that. I know any other business you're allowed to ask for a review. Big trouble if you do that. I also can't acknowledge the review. So if you like something, I can certainly say thanks or whatever, but I can't respond to it in a way that says I agree or whatever. We get in a lot of trouble for that. So thank you in advance if you do, but I'm not allowed to ask you that. So that's why. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. And if you haven't seen Tiger King, I guess I know what you're doing for the rest of the day. And we'll talk to you tomorrow or later, 8 o'clock. We'll be back for the couch talk about the stock picking. Enjoy.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.